Hello everyone, and welcome to ESO Weekly for Friday, March the 29th.
Yes, we have a nice lineup today. We have the Ask Us Anything for the Combat Part 2,
Yep.
and then our new community segment, which is a result of the Shoddy Talks being absorbed, that will answer some of your guys' questions.
We're going to be skipping the developer question of the week because it pertains to just people who went to PAX East, and sadly we couldn't go, so we're not answering the damn question. First question from Jeff Bangle. Will we be able to easily determine what type of armor, heavy, medium, light... Will you stop twirling your Earl Grey over there,
I'm
sir?
trying to make my Earl Grey, okay?
Will we be able to easily determine what type of armor, heavy, medium, light, that an enemy player character is wearing before we attack them? My guild intends to concentrate on sniping behind enemy lines, and we expect that armor will factor into our initial target selection. Would you like to read the answer?
Light armor, medium armor, and heavy armor all have distinctive looks. There are also many different types and levels of armor. For example, there are different levels of orcish armor in light, medium, and heavy. Our goal is certainly to have you be able to tell what armor someone is wearing at a glance, but that'll come more easily the longer you play because there are so many possible combinations.
Alright, so this just further confirms the whole rarity system that they are using. Like, it's basically the same system you see in every MMO. The whole color system with gear. So, like, white would be your common stuff. Usually won't have stats on it. Then you have, like, green, that's uncommon. That'll have some kind of stats. Blue, purple, orange. I'm not sure what the colors will be. With those two, at least, I know for sure, white and green. And so you'll have, like they have here, orcish armor. But there will be different levels of that. And hopefully they actually will look different.
Yeah, I mean, I would assume that's what they're saying here. They, medium, heavy, and, light armor all have their own distinctive looks. So when you're having different levels of orcish armor, we'll see a light version of it, a medium version of it, and a heavy version of it, which is really cool. I don't remember ever seeing any other type of orcish armor but heavy in the game.
Yeah.
So that'll be really neat, and I hope they give it that distinctive orcish
But I also mean, like, each rarity would look different. Like, add more detail to it as you get the higher rarity of the items. So if you get legendary orcish armor, I think that should look a hell of a lot better.
Well, yeah,
I
would assume that's how they would go about that, yeah, because obviously...
I don't have a confirmation on that. That's just what I would like to see, at least.
I mean, it almost goes without saying. I can almost guarantee you that's the way it's going to be, because we're not going to have people, like, low-level guys looking exactly like the guys that are high-level in their armor. I mean, any MMO in their right mind would have you look better as you're progressing, ideally, with your more badass armor. But I thought the question, Jeff did bring up a good point in the way he worded his question. He wants to be able to identify immediately just by looking at them what kind of armor they're wearing. And, that sort of identity has been very important in MMOs. World of Warcraft actually thrived because, I mean, off from the distance, just by the way characters were running, you could immediately identify their race, and then by what armor they were wearing, you could almost always kind of pick out their class, too, at the same time. So, I did like the way he worded the question there. I definitely would like to be able to instantly, identify a race or a play style just by identifying what armor they're wearing, because it does go into the whole strategic thing too. Maybe your class isn't geared to take on a heavy guy in full plate armor, and maybe you want to avoid those fights. I think that's a very important part of games, competitive games, is knowing which fights to engage in and which to drop out of. So yeah, I like that.
Alright, next question from David B.R. If we use a weapon which needs projectiles, will we need to get more projectiles, or are they unlimited?
And Zenimax came back and said, as of now, there is no ammo. You have unlimited projectiles.
Yeah, I already know quite a few people are complaining about this.
Well, yeah, because, I mean, it does take out a certain element, like we're used to in the text games. It's really cool how you can shoot your arrows and stuff, and collect them later.
Yeah.
And, you know, it would add an extra element of, okay, maybe I want to save these ebony or these daedric arrows for a special time because, you know, they're a bit more rare and stuff like that. So it does add that kind of extra layer of strategic planning to it too. But a lot of MMOs seem to be going in this direction too. You know, World of Warcraft started out with
ammo, and then they got rid of it.
And then got rid of it, right.
Like, I would prefer to see a slot, like a quiver slot or something. So if you are using archery, then you have that specific slot there to put a type of arrow.
Yeah.
And then that could, like, you would still have unlimited arrows, but of that specific type. So
Okay,
that way,
I see
like,
what
you
you're
can,
saying.
you can pay more money for like specific damage type or something. So
Yeah.
that'd be something I'd like to see.
Path of Exile had a similar, not exactly what you're describing, but had a similar thing to where the actual quiver you were using classified what arrows you were shooting. So if you were wearing a fire quiver, it was fire arrows, which was really cool. So yeah, maybe something like that. I don't know, if I could stretch out my hand and make it so, I would make it so. No, I would have ammo in the game because I think it does add something, but I'm not particularly upset about it. I don't know about you guys. You let us know if you archers out there. I'm not looking for an archer class, so maybe you archers out there could let us know if that's something, if that's a big deal for you.
Yeah. So the next question: while holding down the mouse button to perform a more powerful attack, how would that affect mobility? For example, could I run towards a target wielding a sword and hold down my mouse key to load up a sword swing to be released when I get close enough? Or would my character start walking or slow down when loading the attack? Vice versa, could I walk while holding a shield up? And that was by Grumblebum.
Grumblebum. Alright, Zenimax came back and said, you can move while charging a heavy blow. Blocking consumes stamina, and you can only walk while blocking. So yes, you could begin charging a heavy attack with a sword while not in range of an enemy, move into range, and then hit the enemy with the attack when you release it. So what do you think about that?
Well, this is great. It means a large amount of mobility. I know that's why you really hated Terra, at least the first was
The
it Lancer?
Lancer.
Yeah,
I
because
hated
like
the Lancer.
they were pretty much cemented to the ground anytime they were attacking. So here we now know that you can simply start running towards your character while, you know, chivalry style with a sword.
Exactly
Just
what I was thinking.
Yeah, powering or charging up that power attack and then be able to let it go right in time and like cleave your enemy in half.
So when you got that claymore running at the forces of, you know, your opposing enemy,
Agatha!
full Frodo, something like that, you know, you can have that epic charging moment with your sword swing. But yeah, I agree, that's very cool because I've always hated in games, you know, Zenimax Online Studios has been saying they want this to play like an action RPG, and I think having mobility while you're attacking is a very, very critical part of that. You know, and like you said, the Lancer in Terra, where other classes, you know, I'm just talking specifically Lancer, didn't have that at all. My feet are cemented to the ground. It's very limiting, and I don't know, it takes a lot out of the experience for me. It's no longer action-y, it feels like an MMO at that point.
Yep. And they also confirmed that you can still walk while you're holding your shield up blocking, but just keep in mind that does burn a lot of stamina just blocking, so you don't want to constantly be holding up your shield, but you want to do it at opportune moments when you see your opponent charging up an attack or something. Then you want to throw up that shield because that does burn up a lot of stamina.
And I kind of like the fact that you have to walk while you're blocking, because I mean that's what we see in tests too. You can't run a full sprint while you're holding down the block button. You know, it takes a lot to lug that big shield around, and your character's movements should be impeded and reflect that. So yeah, I like that too. Both good choices, and I'm glad that question was asked.
All right, next one from Chris Hansen. You stated in your last Ask Us Anything that essentially weapons bring certain skills with them, but does your weapon of choice have any effect on your class skills? For example, are the effects of range of class spells the same regardless of whether my character wields a dagger or a longbow?
And Zenimax came back and said, class spells have a range independent from the weapon you have equipped. That said, it is a very good idea to keep your weapon range in mind when selecting what abilities you want to use on your shortcut bar. Weapon abilities, on the other hand, can only be used while the appropriate weapon is equipped. You can slot them at any time, but they will be grayed out if you aren't wielding the correct weapon. There may have been some questions as to weapons determining the shortcut bar, but they do not. However, weapon swapping is set up in such a way that you have one shortcut bar on each of your 2 weapons, active and backup, and the shortcut bars switch when you switch weapons. But again, you can populate either bar with any abilities you like. So what do you think about that?
Alright, well, they did talk about a couple different things here. One, your weapons range has nothing to do with your class's abilities when it comes to range. So if you're wielding a dagger and you have a fireball spell, in no way is that minimal range of the dagger affect that fireball's range at all. So they're completely independent of each other, so that's good.
And rightly
kind of
so.
obvious, yeah. And the other thing they were talking about, and we had talked about this previously, your weapon loadout includes a shortcut bar, that shortcut bar of like 6 skills or whatever. So if you have a greatsword out, you have, you know, your abilities for that greatsword, and then you have your shortcut bar there. If you switch to like a restoration staff, then you also switch that shortcut bar to another one that is linked with that restoration staff. So this essentially gives you like 6 more abilities to shortcut onto your bar.
And we've talked about that
Yes.
with the whole weapon swapping and how it's going to open up more. Yeah.
So that just allows for more tactical abilities having to do with that specific weapon. So like if you are in a dungeon or something, you're doing DPS, but your group really needs some heals, switch over to your restoration staff, which may also switch your abilities on your shortcut bar, which may also have some healing abilities or CCs or some kind of defensive abilities, and that'll like overall help your group out. So I think that's definitely a good thing that they have there.
Yeah. Definitely.
Next question. I have always been a fan of sneaking, stabbing, and assassinating.
Hey, me too.
Previously in the Elder Scrolls series, there was an indicator which told me if the enemy was aware that I was there, if they knew where I was, and if they had no idea I was right behind them with a dagger going for their neck. How will you handle the sneaking system in the Elder Scrolls Online? And that was by Imba Tagin, or Tajin.
Zenimax came back and said, this is handled in a very similar way to Skyrim. Yay! Your crosshair... They didn't say yay. I said yay. Your crosshairs change to an eye, and it closes to show you are hidden. When it opens a bit, it shows that enemies are looking for you. If you attack an enemy from behind while successfully hidden, you get a bonus to that attack. We also have disguises in the game. Disguises work by allowing you to put them on. Okay. This will make some normally hostile monsters now neutral to you. You will see disguised instead of hidden on your crosshairs. Detection will be very similar.
All right.
Okay, cool. So we got some new info on the disguises and exactly how they work. That's neat.
Yeah, so, a little more on the disguises. Usually they're linked with a quest, and say you just got a quest from a quest giver, and they say, by the way, you don't have to just rush into the fort, because there are quite a lot of people there, and you may get killed. If you want to instead, you can go to this place first, pick up the disguise, and then just walk into the base and not get attacked. So that's kind of how they're going to be doing that, but you can also keep the disguise, apparently. So,
After you're done with the quest.
yes.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so, again, just to confirm, we talked about this before, that the whole eye indicator thing from Skyrim is going to be in the game, used in ESO. But a good confirmation that I wasn't quite sure of yet is if there was going to be a bonus to attack when you are attacking from sneak mode.
Yeah.
And indeed there will be. So if you do successfully attack from sneak, you will get a bonus to damage.
And rightly so. Yeah, I was.
Hopefully it's just not 15 times you're wielding a dagger.
No, totally, man. I should be. If I have an iron dagger that's capable of cutting cheese, that should equally be capable of slaying a dragon in a single hit. You know.
Yeah. Well, then, I'm fine with it, since I will be dual-wielding daggers. Or maybe swords, I'm not sure yet, but we'll see.
Anyway, I thought the disguises are interesting, especially what you said about how they're given out in a quest and it's an option to kind of go about it in a sneaky approach.
Right.
It seems to be sort of this thing where, you know, okay, so all the thieves and all the assassins out there are going to be able to utilize stealth all the time, and they're always going to have an option to go about a quest in a very stealthy way. But these disguises kind of enable the characters that maybe haven't taken the time on stealth, are distributing their energies elsewhere with their character, to still have a sort of infiltrator element in their gameplay.
Yep.
So I thought that's a cool mechanic, and I'm glad to hear also that you can hold on to your disguises later, and they're not just quest-bound items, you know. So cool. Next question.
Next one, I was wondering if there are perk trees to specific skills, like knowing beforehand what skills can be unlocked so you could prepare yourself, grinding for some XP. And that was by Mohammed Bashir.
Zenimax came back and said, once you have a skill, you can see every spell and passive that can be unlocked by mastering it. However, you won't have every skill on your character initially. For instance, there is a Mage's Guild skill line. Until you join the Mage's Guild, you cannot see the line or the abilities in it.
So this is pretty straightforward. I believe it's Necromancy is the one that you get through the Mage's Guild, which is going to be pretty cool. But
really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Apparently.
So the Mage's Guild at this time is totally open to Necromancy.
Well, apparently not. I think it's actually the opposite. The mages are going against the Necromancy thing. Maybe they're like fighting fire with fire or something. In this case, Necromancy with Necromancy. I have no clue.
Yeah, because I thought at this period in time, the Mage's Guild is very much opposed to Mana Marco more specifically, because in lore, like, those two go at it, you know?
Yeah. But I definitely like the fact that once we do unlock a skill line by receiving one of these skills, that we can then see all the other skills we can potentially unlock. So that just gives you kind of a goal.
Oh, yeah.
Because, you're just looking through like, oh, that is a really cool looking skill. I want to get that one. So you'll just, naturally work towards getting that.
Sure. When you're planning ahead in your progression, it's always fun to see where you're going, you know? It would kind of suck being blind to it. So, I'm glad to see that. And I think it's just interesting, though, that I'll definitely want to use my outside web resources to check in skill trees, because what if I want to kind of save some skill points just a little bit towards the beginning before I join the Mage's Guild, because I know once I get that Mage's Guild line, I want to invest a bunch in there. So I wonder if I can save up those skills and not, spend them immediately, which I'm guessing.
Yeah, I don't know if like unlocking, maybe whenever you unlock one, they give you the first one free, possibly.
Yeah, I don't know.
So it won't or at least they'll show you what the skill is, and then you'll have to unlock it with a skill point. We're not sure on that.
Yeah, that's all speculation at this point.
Yeah. So the next question is from Donald Kindly. In most MMOs, the healers get left out of PvP rewards simply for lack of DPS. My question is, does ESO follow suit, or is a strict healer rewarded comparably to an equally skilled DPS character? Does a healer have a chance at becoming Emperor?
And Zenimax came back and said, while you can take on the role of a healer at any time, it is still important to mention that you could be very effective as a healer and still have plenty of damage dealing ability to you. For the sake of argument, let's say you are geared up for healing. You can absolutely gain alliance points by healing your allies, and yes, you have the chance to become Emperor.
I don't want to say this is sort of a cop-out answer, because they do, tackle the question, but I don't see a healer becoming Emperor. I'm sorry, I don't.
The Emperor position
DPS
is
is king when it comes to PvP, and it always has, always will be. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love healers. I mean, they're an integral part of, any grouping situation, but I mean, when it comes down to it, DPS is king. or Emperor in this case. So, yeah, I just don't see a healer being an Emperor ever.
Gandhi never became king of anything. You gotta be a warmonger, bloodthirsty to be Emperor. You know, and I think that's kind of sad, though, because I did like, I think Star Wars The Old Republic was really boasting about how their PvP rewarded every playstyle. So if you were that tank character and absorbing a ton of damage, you would be rewarded as such. And if you were a healer healing a bunch of people, you would be rewarded. Now, I didn't really see that translate too much in the PvP that I played in SWTOR. Granted, I didn't play too much. I kind of just played a couple days of the PvP and got bored.
Got tired of Hutball.
Got tired of freaking Hutball. My God!
I actually started enjoying it a little bit just because my character had the leap and stuff, so it made kind of cheating a little bit easier.
Yeah, I mean, hey, those PvP battlegrounds like the Hutball was very creative, and I did appreciate that. It was definitely a change of pace, but that was all I was playing. I wasn't getting put in anything else. Anyway. Yeah, I would like to see, healers being rewarded because I think it's very important for PvP, in the effort to make it exciting when everybody's just DPSing and there's no sort of, attack plan. Hey, these guys up front are going to be taking the brunt force while the archers in the back are doing DPS, and behind them, we have the healers backing them up. That's the kind of strategy that I want in the armies, because we're going to have hundreds of players playing, rather than just a Zerg fest, everybody shooting each other and stuff. So I hope they do go about rewarding healers in a meaningful way and rewarding tanks in a meaningful way, because it will make PvP more exciting, I think. So, yeah, we'll see though, because I think their answer was a bit vague there.
I mean, we do know that healers will get alliance points, which is the currency used in PvP to get gear and stuff like that. But yeah, I really just don't see healers getting as much alliance points as DPSers. I've never seen it before, so
let's hope
maybe we'll see it now. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, what we want this game to be is innovative, so let's hope that we do see it. All right, next question.
Next one from Jeremy Walton. What I don't like in some other games is that most abilities seem to just do damage. I like utility, spell reflection, disarm, intervene. On a damage utility ratio, how would you say ESO fares?
Zenimax came back and said, the vast majority of abilities are focused on utility rather than damage, yay. And the weapon, light, and heavy attacks, quote, just do damage when that's what you need. There are a few spells that do bonus damage in specific situations, but for the most part you'll want to select abilities for their situational value. This includes abilities like heals, spell reflection, casting a light source, stuns, intercepting attacks, summoning pets, and more.
Hey, so Mage Light's in the game.
Yes, so this question went in a totally different direction towards the end, because now it's confirmed in the game that there's going to be reasons to use light sources.
Yeah, I'm not sure what, but apparently there's going to be some situation for it.
Yeah, so I'm thinking, will there be dark dungeons?
Dude, what if you have to fight PvP in almost pitch black areas?
Yeah,
you can't even see people unless you have a little light source, and then you have to judge, well, do I want a light source and then give my position away, or do I want a light source just so I can freaking see anything and be able to attack people?
Yeah, this is a very, very interesting thing, because what if they do that sort of thing in MMOs? Because I've never seen that done ever before, where darkness... PlanetSide 2, I guess, was the closest thing where when it's dark, it's harder to see your opponents, and I think it worked very well there. It would be great because, Skyrim really dropped the ball on this big time. All the caves and stuff were so well lit, you had no need for any light sources ever. And that's
until the dynamic lighting mod came out.
Exactly, and all the PC gamers ran to the dynamic lighting mod because, dark caves in the bowels of the earth should be dark, and you shouldn't be able to see anything. Khajiits should have an advantage there with their little night eye thing, which is very cool, which was useless in Skyrim because we didn't need it, It would be really neat to see that in an MMO, where you do have dark parts of the world that need a light source. So, I don't see any other reason you would need a light source, unless it's part of some combat mechanic or something.
No clue. But I do just like that there's a lot of situational skills.
Yes.
Now, I kind of hated this in WoW because there were so many situational skills in WoW, but like to a ridiculous extent of situational, whereas these will be more situational, like, do you need more CCs? Do you need spell reflection? Do you need more heals? That's going to be awesome, because then you have your bar pretty much lined up to have a defense against pretty much anything. And also, I like the fact that all these skills aren't just about damage, which will mean fights will last longer.
Yeah.
So you won't have like a two-hit kill in PvP or something. I mean, you still may, but the fact that damaging abilities are mostly just your main weapon attacks, but everything else is pretty much situational, with a few different spells that will do more damage in specific situations. Probably like a stun. If a foe is stunned, you may have an ability that does more damage to a stunned foe.
Sure, it's easier to cut somebody's throat when they're stunned. At least I hear.
Yeah, but I definitely like this whole situational, tactical thing they're using.
Because it puts more emphasis on skill when you're taking out spells that are just, quote-unquote, just do damage. That's all they're for. You're shying away from the numbers game, where, oh, my spell is more level than yours, it does more damage, the end. And it's taking it more to a tactical and situational thing. So, yeah, I was excited to see that too. So, we'll see if it pans out.
Yes, sir. Alright, next question. I have never played an Elder Scrolls game.
Oh, gasp! What are you doing here? No.
But I do enjoy playing MMO games with friends. Will I be able to play this game, or will I be hopelessly lost because I have no background knowledge? And that was by Odd Thomas. Yes, you're very odd.
Zenimax came back and said, "You won't need previous knowledge from the Elder Scrolls games to play the Elder Scrolls Online. You should be able to jump in and play."
Pretty direct, simple answer.
Yeah, but I don't...
Obviously, you won't enjoy it as much because you won't know a lot of the, well, I shouldn't say backstory, because this is 1,000 years before most of the games.
Hey, Odd Thomas, go check out the lore series. The Elder Scrolls lore series. Some really cool guys do it, and it's really good, and it'll get you caught up, and it'll give your gameplay more meaning, because you'll know what the hell's going on. But, yeah, I don't think that question deserves much else discussion besides that, because pretty self-explanatory.
Yep. Next one is kind of a joke question. Is an arrow to the knee a killing blow? And that was by Smitty Ryan Smith.
And Zenimax came back and said, only in Star Trek 6.
Okay. I know I've seen that movie, but I don't remember.
I actually, the moment I read this question, I went to YouTube and looked up the scene where what they're referring to.
Okay,
here.
What happened?
And actually, I think I'll be able to show it because we mentioned it, right? This is from Star Trek 6.
Okay.
And here's
so we'll just show a little
Here's
video.
the clip. Yeah, here's the clip that they're referring to right there.
All right.
You all right, Jim?
I think so.
They'll respect you now.
That's a comfort. I was lucky that thing had knees.
That was not his knee. Not everybody keeps their genitals in the same place, Captain.
There you go.
Alright, next question from Patrick. Will you be able to block with other weapons besides a shield? Does blocking block all damage, or is it just damage reduction? Can ranged, physical, and magical spells be blocked? Thank you.
So polite, Patrick. Alright, Zenimax came back and said, you will be able to block with all weapons, though a shield is most effective. Blocking doesn't block all damage and is far less effective if you are out of stamina. Ranged physical attacks and spell projectiles can be mitigated with a block, but all other magic will go right through. You will have the chance to interrupt some magic spells, though.
I like this. Pretty much all of it. It'll be interesting to see dual wielding blocking, since like it has never been able to block before.
Yes, I agree, definitely.
So obviously it's not going to be as effective as a shield.
Yeah, and rightly so.
Yeah, just the fact that you can actually block, though. I'll probably be dodging more often, depending on how much stamina dodging takes versus how much stamina blocking takes, I guess. But yeah, I like that. And obviously, if you're out of stamina, you're not going to be able to block as well.
Yeah. So you're still going to be able to pick that shield up, but you're not going to be nearly as effective. Yeah, I like this. I like the way Skyrim went about it in that, yeah, shields far the most effective thing to use to block enemies' attacks. Obviously, you can block with like a two-hander or whatever, but it wouldn't mitigate nearly as much damage. On the other hand, though, if you did a shield bash with a weapon, you know, I guess it wouldn't be called a shield bash, just a bash with a weapon.
A pummel strike.
Yeah, a pummel strike does more damage than just a shield would, because, you know, you're using a weapon to bash instead of just a flat shield, which I thought was a cool way to go about it, and I wonder if Zenimax will kind of go in that direction at all, or if they'll shy away from it. I don't know, we'll see, but yeah, so ranged and physical attack spells projectile can be mitigated with a block. So, shields will actually be able to mitigate something like a fireball or something like that. You know, it's not just straight up physical.
Any spell projectiles or arrows also will be blocked by... Which, in Skyrim, didn't you have to have a perk to do that? I hated that. To block arrows.
You had to have a perk to make it effective in blocking arrows, where they basically do no damage at all.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But anyway, I thought it was interesting that we can block magic with any shield.
Well, not magic.
Just magic, or just spell projectiles.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, spell projectiles. Other magic will go right through, so I'm guessing that's kind of like a, you know, like a fire conal effect should be able to easily go through a shield, you know, because it's...
But that's where Interrupt comes into play, so hopefully you can get into range, get close enough to bash them with your shield and interrupt their spell castings.
Yeah. So mages, if you're seeing that warrior come off in the distance, don't be shooting ice spikes at him because he can probably block it. Go for the, you know, more magical conal effect things if you can, I guess. It'll be cool.
Yeah, lay down those AoEs. Last question. ESO has been talking about how it will have high-density content in zones to keep players busy, but will there be any areas such as the Alkir Desert, being a good candidate, that will purposefully be left more sparse to force exploration into the expansive unknown, containing hidden treasures for those who can brave the area long enough to discover them? I, for one, would love to travel out in one direction of that desert, hoping to come across a hidden dungeon. And that was by James Brooks.
No,
He sounds like you.
No, you wouldn't, James. You think it would sound like me? But I have played an MMO that has a ton of empty space. It goes by the name of Star Wars Galaxies. And as cool as it might sound at first, it is like purgatory, alright? It's not as cool as you think it would be. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. This is what Zenimax came back and said. Content really works better on cadences. Some areas which have less content, and some areas which have more. We will definitely have a good cadence in all of our zones, and exploration is something which benefits everyone.
Anything to say about that? So we'll have zones with a lot of content and zones with a little less content, which allows you to explore more, I guess.
Yeah, I will never say less content is a good thing, ever.
I think that was a bad phrasing of less content. Less enemy mobs might be a better thing to say.
Well, what he wants is, like, what the guy asking the question wants is big, huge, empty areas where you could just walk for, you know, like a long time and maybe stumble across an oasis with some treasure in it or something like that. And like I said, as cool as it would sound from an RP standpoint, I have played an MMO where they have done that, and it is painful. It is really painful. And so, yeah, it seems what Zenimax is saying, like, basically, oh, well, some of our zones have a little less content, and some of them have a little more content, but they all have a lot of content or something, you know? That's what I got from what they were saying. I don't know. They definitely didn't acknowledge the fact that they would have big, empty deserts with...
No, I just think there'll be, like, areas where you won't have to constantly be watching your back and constantly being attacked by every freaking thing in the area.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
because
you won't get like overwhelmed all the time and just want to quit playing because I mean you're tired of fighting all the time.
Yeah, like a good Skyrim example would be like the tundras outside of Whiterun. You know, those were filled with more neutral mobs. You know, you had the peaceful giants and the mammoths walking around, and you could let your guard down there. where there's also way, way more hostile areas that you could walk around in Skyrim, you know, like the Rift. The Rift had so many damn bears. My god.
There was, and then saber cats are coming out of nowhere, and then a freaking frostbite spider. Where the hell did that come from? And it starts attacking me. I didn't even see it. I don't even know if that was like a mod that I had or something. They're just coming out of nowhere. I'm like, where the hell did you come from?
Yeah, definitely a world where there's every step you take there's a hostile enemy is not realistic. At the same time, where a world where everything's neutral isn't realistic. So a good mix is always good, and that seems to be the direction where I think hopefully Zenimax will be going with it. You know. Anyway, we are done with our Ask Us Anything questions. That was all that was there for now.
I also wanted to just, for people who may not know this yet, but the first round of beta invites have indeed been sent out.
Yes.
So for those of you that were very lucky enough to get an invite, please make sure you follow their non-disclosure agreement, because you do not want to screw yourself out of being able to test in the future. So even if you did get it, you're not even supposed to say that you got it. So, yeah, just
so you and
be
I
careful.
Could have it right now. And we just wouldn't say anything.
Sure, yeah. I'm playing it right now. Right now I'm playing it on the other screen.
On the other screen. Look at that. Wow. Look at that. That looks so good. Oh, man. But, yeah, so that was an exciting news, though. Exciting for some, super depressing for others.
Yeah, everyone checking their spam folders and everything. It's like, oh, it's not there! Where is it? I know, because that's what I did.
Oh, God. Anyway, yeah, so... Anyway, it's time to move on to our community segments, where it's kind of absorbing the Shoddy Toxin, where you guys ask your questions here in the comments below, and on Facebook, Twitter, and pretty much any other way you can get a hold of us. And we go about answering them. In hopefully an intelligent and meaningful way, but
probably not.
Probably not at all. No, not at all. All right, so let's go ahead and start here with our first question.
Cool. This person wanted to be referred to as Lurky.
Lurky.
Lurky. Hey guys, here's a question for your QA. Do we know, and if not, what can we expect, what the class-specific skill lines will be, and what playstyle they will cover or support most? Here is what I know so far. Dragon Knight, their skill lines are Ardent Flame, Draconic Power, and Earthen Heart. The proper meaning of those skill lines is unclear. Okay. Sorcerer's skill lines has Dark Magic, which is for CCs and teleport skills. Daedric Summoning, which is for conjuring bound armor, which apparently is confirmed by Maria Aliprando. She's one of the game designers. And Storm Calling is for elemental damage. And then the Templar has some sort of healing, unknown skill trees to me. And then Nightblade, which we have no information on right now.
Yeah, because we're not even supposed to know they exist.
Yeah. So, what's there to say about this?
Nothing really, because we don't know anything about these except for the names.
He would like to know some of our philosophizing.
Some of our philosophizing.
His word.
Well, I think the one that caught my attention the most is the sorcerer one, because at least it looks a little bit more recognizable. It looks the most recognizable because we have like conjuration stuff in there. Daedric Summoning, I mean, you know exactly what that skill line is probably going to be doing. So it's going to deal unbound armors, and then conjuration, where we're summoning, you know, what was that cool spider-looking creature? God, I forget what it's called. From Oblivion. We haven't seen it since Oblivion. You're giving me this weird look like you don't know.
I don't know what the heck you're talking about. What spider?
The spider where it's half woman.
Oh, the
and
Jamora
half
spider.
Yeah, the Jamora-looking spider. Like, I hope there's some cool conjuration that way. But the only conjuration we've seen in the gameplay videos that they released was some sort of lightning Akranak. Or whatever. Is that the right word? I mean, I'll go ahead and show it on the screen right now so you can take a look at it.
It's actually like the same ability can be split into two different things. So you can have one, you can make it either a tanky type pet, or you can make it a more damage dealing pet. It actually splits.
Okay.
So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, so I'm guessing we're going to see all the sorts of Akranax in this game. So we're going to have the flame one. We already saw the lightning one. hopefully Frost we'll see in there too. Was there an Earth one? I have a feeling maybe that was just the lightning one. That
the
looks
lightning
earthy.
one looked like an Earth.
Looked kind of Earth-like, yeah. So that's what we've seen in the actual gameplay we've looked at. I haven't seen any bound armor in the gameplay, because we would be able to recognize, hopefully, the bound armor immediately because it has that sort of Daedric summoning look to it where it's all ghost-like.
It needs to be like purplish and kind of smoky.
Purplish and kind of smoky, yeah. And that'll look cool. I want to see some gameplay on that. Would be nice.
So, what kind of skill lines would you think we'd see on a Templar? There's going to be obviously some kind of healing tree that's going to have some kind of heavenly name or something.
Yeah, I don't know. That would just be speculation at this point.
Well, that's what we're doing here.
Well, I mean, there's still some things that we do know, too, that we've actually seen from the gameplay. Like, I think we've seen a Storm-Calling mage, at least a mage going about all his fire damage and stuff. Do you remember in the gameplay, and I'll show this on the screen, too, where there was a mage backing up his group behind a bunch of melee characters, and he had this sort of fire ring around him on the floor, and he was casting all these fire spells. They were going off. They look kind of like fireballs, I guess.
Are you talking about the synergy thing where the warrior was in the ring of fire throwing fireballs from it?
I don't think it was
a synergy.
I don't think it was a warrior. I remember seeing a mage, at least a guy in a robe, sitting in a circle of fire. Which I wish I had the video up right now. I could show you. They're going to be able to see what it looks like.
I'm just asking, what skill lines would you like to see in the Templar and Nightblade?
I guess healing stuff. Like I guess a Templar. When I think of a Templar, I think of kind of a tanky healer. So anything like a Paladin type skill line would be nice.
Alright, what about Nightblade? I'm thinking there's going to be an archery one. There's got to be, because there's no like archery specific skill lines in any of the other ones. So there's got to be some kind of archery one. Some kind of a assassination type melee damaging one, like with daggers or swords. And what would the other one be? More stealthy alteration illusion magic? That's what I would imagine we'd be seeing.
Illusion, definitely, yeah, because illusion has always been used a lot by type of like stealth type characters. Because what we see in the illusion tree is usually stuff that enhances stealth, like chameleon or flat out invisibility. We also have the muffle ability falls under the illusion line that makes you quieter when you're sneaking around. So I definitely see the illusion line falling under the Nightblade class and their skill trees reflecting that somewhere.
Alright.
Definitely.
Moving on. Drewball P asks, I noticed that they never talked about the skills that you receive by putting points into Magicka, Stamina, and Health. Do you think they are that they took that feature out? No, they have not. It's still in the game. They just don't talk about it because it's pretty straightforward. We still don't know, though, if they are going to eventually allow it to like branch out and you can choose what like Magicka will do when you put points into it or not. From what we've heard previously, like during the pre-alpha and stuff, it's pretty linear in that respect. Like it's only going to give you like Magicka regen, or it's only going to give you increased Magicka. I'm not sure what they are. I can't remember what they are. But it did seem pretty linear. It didn't seem like there was any choices when you put points into those. So hopefully there will be some sort of choices by release.
There you go.
Alright, and the final one from Jeffrey C. For the RPers, should Elder Scrolls make an entirely new server just for RP like Moonguard and WoW?
No, they shouldn't have to, right?
It shouldn't at all, because that's where the whole questionnaire comes into place.
Yes, this mystical questionnaire that it will hopefully do all it's promising us.
Yeah.
Which, what it's been promising us is putting us with like-minded gamers. So, and RP has always been very hard in MMOs, just because of the fact people will roll on RP servers that don't even like RP, and it is so irritating, because you're trying to, if you're on an RP server, you should be actively seeking RP a majority of your gameplay time, and to roll on it and not like to roleplay is a total douche and dick move. And if you're out there listening to this, no, I'm sorry.
Damn trolls.
Yeah, you kind of, that's what it is. It's trolling is what you're doing. And so, yeah, we're hoping that the questionnaire will fix this by having these players automatically grouped together, and you shouldn't encounter this sort of issue, And like I said, other MMOs have suffered, because even World of Warcraft, there was a certain mod that you would have to install as an RPer, because it would kind of, I think it would show next to your nameplate or something if you were actively seeking RP or something like that.
I don't recall.
I don't know.
But let me give you a little hint here. If you are looking for mainly an RPing experience in Elder Scrolls Online, find an RP guild. Plenty of places to find guilds, like Tamriel Foundry has a place, and there's a bunch of other ones. Find an RP guild because, first and foremost, they sort you in server phasing by guild, then friends list, then like-minded gamers. That's the priority list. So if you find an RP-focused guild, then you know you'll be with people that are strictly there for an RP purpose. So there's your little hint there.
Here's a little tip.
Little tip. So that's going to be it for that. But we would like to thank our sponsors for the week.
Yeah, let's go ahead and thank our sponsors. I'll let you read out the names since I'll butcher
Awesome.
them probably worse than you are about to.
Alright, so we have Cathandus Frostblade. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Hopefully, sir, ma'am, person. Alright, person.
Just don't even say, just say human.
Joaquin Avalon. I know that because he said it was like the actor Joaquin Phoenix. So thanks for giving that little tip. All right, Brandon Edwards, one I can pronounce with no problems. Thank you. Hayden Doughty, a big, huge thank you to you.
Dragonborn status.
Apparently you received Dragonborn status. Thank you. Next one is from Mikkel Nevin. Thank you, sir. And then the last and final one, Jeremy Bedford. Thank you guys so much. You guys really helped us out. You helped Josh especially finally get his 1080p monitor.
Yeah, which I wasn't particularly looking for a 1080p monitor for gaming or anything like that because I've told Kyle I'm so content with a 720.
You need it for recording.
Yeah, for recording it's just an imperative. I know there's a lot of people out there that do appreciate having their videos in 1080p, and so thanks to you guys, the next lore video that is, hey, that's out tomorrow. You should go ahead and watch that. The next chapter installment. So that's going to be in 1080p because of you guys. Thank you so much. It really is. It's amazing to see people, because it's one thing to watch our stuff, which thank you so much for that. You know, taking time out of your day to watch our content is a huge compliment. And then it's another thing to actually put your money out there. I think
hard-earned cold cash, giving it to some people you'd never met before. But it just really shows appreciation to us that you do like what we're doing and that you want to continually see more stuff coming from us. And so it does mean a whole lot.
Yeah, just as content. I'll bring it in for a hug, guys.
Yeah.
Bring it in for a... No. All right.
But if you do want to become sponsors, just visit our site. There's a donation button down below our weekly polls. I believe that's where it still is. And we update it all the time with a percentage that kind of just shows you where we're at in our whole goal situation.
Sure thing, sure thing. All right, it's enough of the whoring. This has been the ShoddyCast. I have been Josh.
And I've been Kyle.
We'll catch you later.
Don't forget to like. Bye.